Thanks to Rob over here. We got some real quick business to do, and then we'll get to the presentation. We'll make it as quick as we can. But first, let's go around and everybody introduce themselves quickly, something simple. I'm Bill, KW5GP. I am currently the president of the club, at least for another few months, maybe another year. My interest has turned into portable operating and parks on the air. I was doing portable before there was a parks on the air. Now I'm a parks on the air person. Bill.
Ed Bevel, KO4SRJ. I do a lot of parks, out in parks, even if it's not parks on the air, and VHF, UHF from home.
And current treasurer of the club.
Current treasurer of the club.
Okay.
Blaine Watts, KB4KHQ. I'm the VE team leader. And that's it.
I'm Val, WD4EX, interested in CW and sideband on HF and portable stuff.
Let's catch you.
Hey, I'm Fernando, KQ4SPA, and I do like portable, anything.
KQ, K5. Thank you.
Is that your real call sign or are you just borrowing it?
I think I'm just borrowing it. Portable, working CW, FTA.
John?
John, N3ACK, what was the question?
Just a quick introduction, Mr. Vice President.
I enjoy walks on the beach and
Pina coladas.
pina coladas, that's right.
Whatever turns you
Pat and 4MPC,
on. And
do a lot of VE testing.
that's a good thing.
He does.
All right, well,
Rob, KF4UTY, program director. You know, I guess for my activities, I'll say building something 75% and moving on.
so you don't like that last 10%. Right.
I get bored.
My name's Chip, N4CHP. I like FTA and CW, I like building radios too.
And that's gotta be a vanity call sign.
Yeah.
You wouldn't change your name to match the call sign.
No, I didn't do it.
Scott, KQ4NBC, fairly new ham, getting well acquainted with Farah and WinLink. Go to start doing some parts on there when I get the radio I like.
I've got another 7100 I'm gonna put my hands on this week, so. Somebody asked me to take care of my thing, do the form, so I think
We'll talk about that in a
I'll
moment.
get a chance to do it.
I got it,
Hey, you're right. We're gonna advertise it.
NZ Tuesday, November Zulu 2 Zulu, and right now I'm involved in tarpon packet radio. Otherwise, when the weather gets warm, I'm outside doing kind of like parks on the air. I just operate for an hour and see how many contacts I can get and move on. And that's my case.
I can tell you, if you go to a park and you say to somebody, oh, I'm in Brook Run Park, they will get aggravated if you can't give them a park number. What's your number, man? What's your park number? What's your number?
You know, you're numberless.
Yeah, there is no number.
Well, where I'm staying now, I'm at one of these like remote sites of Kennesaw Mountain, Cove Farm.
Right.
It's not like on Kennesaw Mountain proper, but it's close enough and it's a federal property, so I can get a number there.
Yeah, we just look at all, but the thing is that they get aggravated because you apparently can't work portable outdoors unless you're in a park. I like cemeteries.
John, KR4ALD, brand new ham, so just getting started studying for my general license and figuring out what I can do with the HT.
Welcome to the hobby. It's one of the best hobbies you could ever get into. And this is the testing guy right here.
He's the one who gave me my test.
Literally a couple of bills on the table and maybe even skip that whole testing thing. We'll get you in trouble. Parks on the Air has, a lot of us doing portables, doing outdoor stuff. I've been doing it for years and years. And Parks on the Air has caught on like crazy to the point where if you actually say I'm portable, they assume you're in a park and get mad because you're not giving your number out. And I wasn't joking about cemeteries. The 4 best places I've ever found work is the C.T. Lord Cemetery in Toomsboro, the Calhoun Cemetery in Abbeville, the Rain Cemetery up in Tennessee, and the Stubbs Cemetery also in Tennessee were the four best places I ever found.
The condition-
Because nobody bothers you there. Well, they got that fence around most of them, and I was wondering. All right, so we got three pieces of business to do, and this is mainly John. Did Stephen or Jeff come in tonight on the thing?
Doesn't look like it.
Okay, so the first thing we have is the insurance. We now have the insurance covered. We think we've got what the bank tower requires. You're looking for a certificate of insurance letter to prove it to them. Right now, we're still in the case where we do not have access to the equipment on the bank tower. If we need to get up there, we can't. But we think, John thinks.
We do technically.
We got it.
I think as of today, we finally got the correct certificate. on
So
file.
Kevin is okay with.
Well, that's a whole nother story, but
Yeah.
talking to the facility coordinator, he says our certificate meets what they require, so.
Okay, you guys have been keeping track of this. We need to keep you informed. It's turned into a total cluster. Because the bank has just changed the requirements and they're treating us like a commercial entity with thousands of dollars per month income. They can't get their head around the fact that we're a public service group. Second point, also, John, Hamfest.
Hamfest is June 7th, coming up quick. If you're interested in helping out, we do have a Hamfest meeting coming up next week, Wednesday night. We're always looking for people to take on a task and help make the work lighter for us all, so.
So when is the meeting?
It's 7:30 next Wednesday, which is March 12th.
Yeah.
Yes,
It's same location as last time?
it's on Zoom.
No.
Oh, so yeah.
I will probably be laying at home with my foot propped up.
So,
Certainly same
but the
way.
meeting Wednesday night will be on Zoom, so. No
Okay,
need, no need to leave the house.
Yeah, and we need to have everybody get involved with the Hamfest. Last year, we really had trouble getting volunteers on the ground. Kennehuchi's got the same problem we do. Everybody's getting older, everybody's got jobs, everybody's got families. Those of us that do put a lot of effort into it and go up and volunteer to do things, there's just not enough of us, but if you can volunteer to help, it's not hard, it's a lot of fun, and you might even get in free. Last point, you again, John and Stephen and Jeff, but they're not here. How did the inventory go for the bank tower for the repeater stuff?
We're still working on that because there's a book somewhere, but nobody knows where the book is. It may be up there in the cabinet. So I've been in contact with Kevin up there, who's in charge. Kevin's company is the company that's in charge of the rooftop and all the antennas and stuff. So we have to work through them, and he and I were going to go up there today so that I could identify what we don't have pictures of, because we're supposed to have pictures of everything. And be able to identify it, and apparently we don't have everything documented like we're supposed to, which I don't really blame the club. It's just, we've been up there for 30 years and nobody's ever questioned
You
anything.
might wanna say what
So-
that is.
Huh?
Where we're up, not everybody knows.
I'm sorry, the Bank of America, we're on top of the Bank of America Plaza downtown in Atlanta, which is the highest building, and we've got an antenna in the spire plus several other antennas doing different things around that rooftop. And part of what's going on right now is the bank's getting ready to do a renovation up there. And they're inventorying everything, and because there's a lot of stuff that's dead up there that has just been left behind. So we're trying to identify our stuff so that it doesn't get yanked down.
I haven't been up there in 5 or 6 years, but at one time there was a couple of public service radios from either the police department or the fire department or some combination that had been stuck on the side. And that stuff had been powered down to the point where the dust had formed over the lights, where you did turn on the lights, you could even see the lights through it. And there's a couple of antennas, but our stuff basically is concentrated in one room, and then we've got the two antennas up the spire, we've got the one antenna over the building, and the two corner reflectors and the cabling in between. But over the years, that stuff has been moved around and switched out, and so
If I'm not 100% sure the reflectors are still working. They may be.
they were up there last time I was there, though, honest to God, I
Yeah,
wouldn't.
I think they're disconnected now.
Yeah, it looked like something been sleeping on.
Apparently we have something in the spire, and there's a Cushcraft somewhere outside the spire. And then there's a Yagi for Skywarn on the south side of the building, on the south face. And then there's two Yagis of some sort, center beam in the middle of that whole structure
Yeah.
that do two different things.
I know we had two 440s, because I could not hit the club's analog 440, but I could hit the DMR machine dead solid for my house.
And then, of course, we have a D-Star repeater that we sponsor on top of Stone Mountain, so.
Did you try and hit both 440s?
Hmm?
Try to hit both 440s, you said?
At the time, when we lost Sweat Mountain, I couldn't get in with 2 meter at all. And I tried 440, the 440 DMR with the 5-watt handheld is dead solid. But going into analog, it doesn't even, not even with a 50-watt mobile, I can't even break a squelch on.
We don't have 440 analog.
Not anymore, but back when we had it, we did.
Do we have
So-
access to the repeater from a computer or something?
Yeah,
Cause I noticed today, I pinged it once or twice and the time and the date is way off.
yeah, he's trying to get that fixed. And part of that's being able to get up there, so
Okay.
we'll get it, once we were able to make a trip, which. Like I said, technically, we probably ought to be able to make a schedule to take a trip next week, so.
It's just a plain little PC with a coin battery. If the power goes off when it comes up, they need to replace the coin battery, which you gotta have access to.
For those of you who don't know, we're literally probably gonna have to, well, I mean, most likely gonna have to come off the tower in 12 months, so.
Right.
Cause they're gonna require the insurance every year and it's $3,200, so. And I'm still haggling over that monthly fee. That's not gone away apparently. That resurfaced here in this past week, so.
We'll deal with what can, the club, the insurance on the bank, I know we got the presentation here, the insurance on the tower up there comes out to just over $3,000 a year, which we just can't afford that. We were up there for free for 32 years, so I'm not gonna complain, but we need to find another location.
Which we are working on.
We got some folks out looking around. We simply cannot afford to pay it for a second year, so one way or the other, come March of 2026, we're coming off the tower, either go to another location or just come off the tower. We can't leave our equipment. We lost the equipment on the Fox Tower up in Gainesville. This was way before our time when we came in, but we lost it because they had to have a certified climber to go up and get the equipment, and we couldn't get a certified climber to go up and get it. So basically, a whole repeater system, a whole remote receiver, a whole everything.
Lane's about the only one in the room in the club probably at this point that's been up there, so.
Remembers that.
He's
Oh, you
ridden
done.
the elevator. Haven't you been up there before? No, I thought you.
Well, there
had.
you go.
Okay, well, never mind.
It's not our fault.
I know Dick's been up there, but I thought you'd been up there too, maybe not.
Dick's not here. So he doesn't count. All right, so that
quick,
concludes the business portion of our meeting. Rob, you want to take it away?
Yeah.
Stand up.
Now for the knowledge part of the meeting. I go looking through the Hamfest, trying to find speakers. So I look and see what the other clubs have done and what the Hamfest have done, and try and get people from there, because especially if someone's been in multiple Hamfests, I assume that they know what they're doing. And one time I came across Glenn, I'm going through the list, just down the list, and I go, blah, 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 Popiel, blah, blah, wait a minute. And so I had to look at that, which I bet you've heard before. But that got me to look at your entry more carefully, and looking around. Okay, you're Arduino expert, microcontroller expert. He's the guy. And you kindly agreed to present. And so I'm going to say, I got KW5RP. And subjects can be microcontrollers. Microcontrollers. Oh, over to you, Glenn.
All right, well, I need someone to open up sharing for me first.
All right, you should have it.
All right. All right, can y'all see that?
Yes.
Yep.
Okay, great. Okay, as he said, the call is KW5GP, not RP, but we'll let it slide. I'm the author of ARRL's Arduino books. There's 4 of them in the series now. And there's more on the way at some point. We'll explain that in a little bit. And thank y'all for letting me come and present. I enjoy doing this. This is part of the fun of Hamfest and ham radio for me. And who am I? I'm a newly retired network engineer and technology consultant, now in Conway, Arkansas. Was in Memphis for a number of years and then Birmingham before that. First license is WN4FTX back in 1973 in Miami. I'm the author of the ARRL series and one from Elector Publishing as well. I do QST articles and product reviews. In fact, I've got an upcoming article in On the Air and a product review coming up in QST soon. And as you can see there, I also show world champion Maine Coon cats. And this is why it takes so long to put a book together. You don't just reach in and grab the parts. There is a price that has to be paid, usually in food. But this is how it is here. They take over the spots. And you can see, I mean, she knows how to use the tools as good as I do, really. It's hilarious. But we've got a new one now. We were talking on the pre-show here. This is, we nicknamed him Sasquatch. He's a 4.5-year-old Maine Coon boy, and we adopted him, but please don't tell him he's adopted. He thinks he owns the house. And to give you, we'll talk about this again in a second. I was going to tell you about his size, but did I cover? Oh, I didn't do his size in this presentation. That's for Dayton. He's actually 44 inches from tip of nose to tip of tail. So 3 feet plus 8 inches. And so that's a 48-inch desk that he's on.
Pretty big.
Big kid, all marshmallow. But you've heard them talking about Arduino and microcontrollers. And what is the difference? The Arduino Uno is one of the earlier microcontrollers. It's a small, easy to program microcontroller that's used in a lot of ham radio and robotics projects. It's got 14 digital I/O pins. And when I say digital, think of on off like a light switch that you can control. It's got 6 analog input pins, so you can feed it a voltage from 0 to 5 volts and have that converted to a digital value. And they're programmed using a PC and a USB cable. And the term Arduino is now pretty much being used to describe microcontrollers in general. And there's a huge family of those things right now. Think of a microcontroller as a small computer with specialized but limited capabilities, very similar to that engine management computer in your car. Your car's computer senses and controls things to make the car engine run right, such as adjusting the air and fuel mixture, yelling at you that you don't have your seatbelt on and things like this. And they do it so that the engine in the car runs most efficiently and safely. And while technically a computer, a microcontroller has far less power and functionality than a PC or even a smartphone. It started out in 2005 at the Interaction Design Institute of Rea in northern Italy, of all places. It was originally intended to be an inexpensive platform used by the students there to replace the more expensive and less powerful Parallax Basic Stamp. Here's the fun and interesting part, though. It was designed for non-technical users such as artists, designers, musicians, other students in the creative arts fields. These are not techs. These are not programmers. But this is why you'll hear Arduino programs referred to as sketches, because pretty much it was artists involved with this as well. The hardware and software designs were released to the general public as open source when the institute closed. And, that's kind of an interesting thing, and it's a big testament to the Arduino that this was for non-technical people. That tells you how easy it really should be. But what is open source? When you hear the term open source, that generally means that that product or system or whatever has been released to the public domain, usually for free at a very minimal cost, something similar. You're free to use and modify these products and even resell them if you want. The only real constraint when you're dealing with open source is that you must also freely share your software, your design, your schematics as well. Here's an interesting fact when you talk about the power of these things. The most common microcontroller board, the Arduino Uno, has more supercomputer power or more computer power than the supercomputers we used to put man on the moon in 1969. So that says a lot about what's on these little itty bitty boards. But they truly are for everyone. They're very versatile, inexpensive, and easy to use. Because of this, they have rapidly become the development tool of choice for hobbyists. A microcontroller's versatility allows it to be used for simple projects as well as complex robotic, wearable, electronic, and other projects. A lot of your 3D printers are powered by a microcontroller. And of course, microcontrollers are also used in ham radio pico ballooning, the drones, and robotics projects. And my books are all about ham radio projects using microcontrollers. But they're not just for fun and games. In the early days of COVID, using a microcontroller, a group of ham radio operators, of course, helped create an open source, low-cost COVID-19 patient ventilator. This was when the hospitals did not have enough equipment. So these things were being used to save lives, and it was hams behind them. But it can be a lot of fun too. You can get the kids involved. The firefly jar here simulates the age-old fun of catching live fireflies and putting them in a jar, but this time you don't hurt any of the real fireflies. You've got microcontroller-powered drones that they're using them as autopilots, flight management computers, allowing for simplified flight control, maintaining position, flying to waypoints, smooth landings, etc. You can put a GPS on this thing and literally tell it to fly to a location, and it will fly, land, navigate, etc. If you're into model railroading, they're becoming a big thing in model railroading. They control your track switching, crossing guards, and other lights, your engine control, and other activities, providing an added level of realism to your model train railroad layout. And of course, you can scale this thing up. A lot of your robotics project, both large and small, are powered by microcontrollers. I want that. But microcontrollers are commonly used in wearable electronics projects, and these are often used in cosplay, which are costume events at science fiction conventions. Other wearable projects include fun and safety projects, such as the electronic turn signal indicators that they've got sewn in these bikers' jackets. They can also be used to create smart badges. I mean, how many of us at a Hamfest would love to have a cool looking badge? And so you can use a microcontroller to build you a badge with graphics and everything. And really, these things are easy. You can't let yourself be intimidated by it. They're not that easy. We've taught 9-year-olds how to solder and program with these things. And most of them are completely open source, both hardware and software. This means everybody is sharing their ideas, designs, and programs. Most are easily programmed using the Arduino Integrated Development Environment, which we call the IDE, and this runs on a PC, Mac, or Linux, and it's all interchangeable. They have onboard digital and analog input and output. These boards typically cost only $10 or less. And so don't be fooled by the price, though. These things are powerful, versatile, and really easy to work with. And what is the difference between analog and digital I/O? You know, think of analog, it's a circuit device that uses a varying signal, like a light dimmer, the volume on your phone, things of that nature. A digital circuit just says on or off. You don't have any in between. So a light switch, the power switch on your phone, again, is an example of a digital signals. Microcontrollers think using digital signals, but they can receive and send analog signals to read temperature or control the speed of a motor or the brightness of a light, as well as use digital signals to turn things on and off, like the light switch. Comparing these to a PC, the Arduino Uno, which is one of the most common microcontrollers, has a central processing unit running at 16 megahertz. In comparison, your home PC typically runs around 3 gigahertz, or about 200 times faster than the Arduino. It's got 32,000 words of flash program memory compared to the 8 gigabytes of memory in a PC or, terabyte on a hard drive. So these things are tiny. And the PC costs several $100 though. These microcontrollers really can cost around $5 and even less. So while the microcontroller may not be as powerful and as fast as a PC, that doesn't mean we can't use it to build some interesting and fun projects. Most of these are programmed using that Arduino IDE for PC, Mac, or Linux. This IDE is what you use to edit, create, upload, and debug your programs, which again are known as sketches. They communicate with the PC and the IDE using the microcontroller's onboard USB port. Once uploaded, these sketches run completely standalone from semi-permanent flash memory. And these sketches are written in a simplified, easy-to-learn variation of the C++ programming language, and it reads very much like English. This is a sample program here to blank the onboard LED. And it's literally define the pin as an output, and then you go to the loop, turn it on, wait a second, turn it off, wait another second. It's that simple. Yeah, we got an echo here.
Yeah, hang on.
I was trying to see the slides better, sorry.
No problem.
All over.
No problem. We'll just put your name on the wall for next time. Libraries are pre-written module device drivers that and functions that you can easily and quickly add to your sketches. So there's a lot of programming you don't even have to do. It's already done for you. A lot of libraries are included with the IDE, and additional libraries can be downloaded and easily added. This is really the power of this open source model. A whole worldwide community is developing and freely sharing their libraries and software and everything, saving you the time and trouble of writing them yourself. You don't need to know how to interface to the display. The library handles that. You just tell it what you want it to do in terms of text and graphics, and boom, it does them for you. Most of these libraries also include sample code that you can often directly plug into your own sketches. If you want to go to outside help, PhaseDoc has just released their new Introduction to Microcontrollers kit. This kit includes an Arduino Uno starter kit that has an Uno and some select electronics so you can build some things. It's got an organizer for all these parts. It's got their workbench, which is what I call a breadboard on steroids that allows you to put your components on a breadboard and wire between them. And it includes lessons, project, and code to help you learn how to program and use the Arduino and other microcontrollers. I reviewed this in a QST back in like 2020. Dr. Arduino is another one of my favorites. They've got several products aimed to help you get started with the Arduino. He's got a Maker Academy that's designed to help you learn and build a rapidly growing library of Arduino projects, including this satellite hunter, which is based on my original satellite tracker design. You've got the Arduino Bootcamp, which consists of a number of mini lessons that'll help you get started with the Arduino. And then he's just extended a special price for attendees of any of my forums. Just use coupon code Glen and you'll get you a discount on any of that stuff. So this whole community, we're really bonded together and trying to help each other out, even with the businesses. And matter of fact, the PhaseDoc folks actually went and got their ham licenses after I did the review of their product, and they've been to several ham fests. So it's really kind of cool. But there are many types of microcontroller boards to choose from. All of these have basically the same functionality, and most of them are programmed using that Arduino IDE. You've got microcontrollers such as the Arduino Mega and the Teensy. These are big boards, not in terms of size, but in terms of power. They've got 54 I/O pins, more memory, and bigger and faster processors, but they're still cheap. And there are really a lot to choose from, but some standard choices in microcontrollers are starting to emerge, and we'll talk about a couple of those in a minute. And some of the more recent microcontrollers have onboard Wi-Fi and Bluetooth support. But when it comes to starting out with these microcontrollers, it's really hard to go wrong with the basic Arduino Uno and its smaller twin, the Nano. They're really identical other than in size. The LilyPad Snap uses the same ATmega 328 microcontroller as the Uno and Nano, but it's designed specifically for wearable projects. As you can see, the battery is actually separate from the unit itself so that you can remove the battery to wash it. The ESP32 is becoming the go-to microcontroller for these more complex projects. It's got a 32-bit CPU that runs from 160 to 240 megahertz, so it's 10 times faster than the original Uno. It's got 4 to 16 meg of memory now instead of the 32K. Anywhere from 32 to 77 I/O pins depending on the version you choose. It's got up to 18 12-bit A to D pins, analog to digital, and 2 8-bit digital to analog output pins. It's got 10 capacitive touch switch sensors, 4, and these SPI, that's serial peripheral interface, and I2C is inter-integrated circuit. And these are 2 buses that are common with microcontrollers. Almost every module and add-on component is supported and supports these buses. It also has 3 UARTs for serial communication. It's got up to 8 channels of infrared remote control, 16 channels of pulse width modulation so you control motor speed and LED brightness. It's got an integrated onboard Hall effect magnetic sensor and onboard Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Costs about $3, all on that little itty bitty board that's literally the size of a postage stamp. One of the newer ones also is the Raspberry Pi Pico. This is not to be confused with the Raspberry Pi computer that you're mainly familiar with. This one is programmed in Python, another language used in microcontrollers, but it has a unique boot select button that allows you to change that Python out for different version of Python, C or C++, including the Arduino IDE, and 3 versions of BASIC. If you want to go back to the 70s, here's your chance. You've got the dual core 133 megahertz CPU, and the Pico 2, which just came out, ups that to 150 megahertz. It's got 2 mega flash memory and 256K of RAM. Again, the Pico has more. It's got 26 digital I/O pins, 16 of them can do the pulse width modulation. It's got 3 12-bit A to D inputs. Trust me, we won't be this boring with specs much longer here. 2 SPI buses, 2 I2C buses, 2 UARTs. It also can be a USB host and 8 PIO state machines, so you can actually have it process a sequence of data as digital I/O. It's got an on-chip real-time clock and a temperature sensor. This costs a whopping $6. You've got shields, and these are boards that have a standard layout. If you've noticed in the Arduino Uno, you have these pins along the edge of the board, and those are pretty well standardized, and these allow the use of these add-on boards that we call shields. Shields can be used to easily, quickly, and add devices and functionalities such as displays, GPS, Ethernet, wireless, voice recognition, relay drivers, and all sorts of things. Again, most of these have pre-written drivers and libraries and sample code that you can use in your own sketches. But these are rapidly being replaced by the cheaper and more versatile modules. But shields, again, are very good for starting out if you want to get some functionality to your projects. And here's some of your standard shields. You've got a voice recognition, color TFT display, prototyping, Ethernet, Wi-Fi, and LCD display. And they've got all kinds of these. The voice recognition shield is a standalone voice synthesizer and speech recognition. It supports 150 full sentence voice commands, and it doesn't matter about the speaker's voice. It's independent. It's got a built-in microphone. Interestingly enough, it supports English, Spanish, and German. So with just that one little shield, you could build you a 3-language translator and not have to write hardly any code. But you're not limited to just shields that plug into these microcontrollers. You can also choose from hundreds of different modules. And these modules are nothing more than external components that you wire into your circuits. They're available as an LCD, an LED, and thin film transistor displays. Again, GPS, text to speech, lightning detection, which is one of my favorites, temperature, barometric pressure, relay and motor drivers, and just hundreds more. And with Shields, most of these modules and devices have pre-written libraries and sample codes. So again, you can literally plug and play. And these are replacing Shields in most of our designs. Here's some more modules. You've got a temperature and relative humidity, compass, an MP3 player. So you can now actually build your own little MP3 player, a barometric pressure sensor. This is one of my new favorites. This is a wind sensor module that uses a unique method to measure wind speed. There's no anemometer, no spinning cups. It uses what's called a hot wire anemometer, and what this does, it measures the current that's needed to maintain the temperature of some precision resistors on the board, and it uses that differential to calculate the wind speed, and includes onboard ambient temperature compensation as well. And it comes in two versions. It comes in a standard 0 to 60 mile an hour version. And then for those of us in the South with hurricanes and tornadoes, we got one from 0 to 150. So now your trackers and storm chasers can actually get real wind speed numbers if they make a mistake and get in the wrong path. You've got these voice modules, the DF Robot Gravity speech synthesis. This is great for text to speech. It's got a built-in onboard speaker and it connects using standard serial or the I2C bus. The ISD 1820, this is a voice recording and playback module that can do 8 to 20 seconds, and it samples at 3.2 kilohertz a second, so it's pretty good quality of audio. It's got an onboard microphone and a speaker driver. This is ideal if you want to create you a little ham contest voice memory keyer. You've got their voice recognition module that supports 121 built-in commands and words, allows you to add up to 17 custom commands, and in their documentation, they said it, not me, including cat meows. And it connects, again, via standard serial or the I2C. So now that voice or meow controlled shack or cat feeder really isn't far off now. This is another really cool one that I want to play with. It's a the DF Robot gesture sensor. This can recognize 12 hand gestures with a sensing range of nearly a foot. It connects again using standard interfaces, but imagine the possibilities now. Use your hand, go up 5, down 5, tune the band, whatever. You can now use hand gestures to control your radio rather than have to reach over and touch the dial. You can add some satellite technology. These GPS modules are used in several different ways. In addition to providing your standard GPS position and directional information, they can also be used as a source of extremely accurate time. I heard a lot of FT8, FT4 folks in there. When you're out doing that POTA activation, you need accurate time. What if you're somewhere where you can't hear actual time and you left your watch at home or whatever? You can use a GPS to get you that actual time. And most have internal antennas, but some also have the capability for an external antenna, giving you a little extra sensitivity. If you think about it, the high altitude balloons that a lot of people are playing with in ham radio these days, they have an onboard GPS so you know where this thing is as it travels around the world. And here's some more modules for those of us that want to build our own radios. The AD9850 is a digital direct synthesis module. This is great for generating a sine wave from 0 to 40 megahertz with an accuracy of 0.0291 hertz. It doesn't drift. So that's a dead-on frequency source. You also have the SI5351 that can generate from 8 kilohertz to 150 megahertz, and it's got 3 separate outputs. The only thing to be aware of here is its outputs are square waves, so you got to filter or smooth that to prevent harmonics and distortion when you use it in RF applications. Some of the new recent modules here, the SI4700 series of radio modules, receiver modules. These can be used to create complete AM, FM sideband and RDS, which are radio data system receivers using a single IC. And this is what a lot of your modern radios are switching over to. Talking about those thin film displays, those TFT displays, these are some of the things you can do with the graphics on them. And oh, by the way, you don't need to know how to make this happen because Dwayne, KV4QB's got a version of this for the SI5351 that was done by JF38ZB. So that's out there available to you. So you can just plug and play that into your own projects. There's some other displays to choose from. You've got the organic LED and the Nokia 5110. And that's literally the old Nokia phone's display. I use these for low power applications or bright sunlight or just needing a smaller display. You've heard about these e-ink displays. I tend to avoid them right now because there is a 3-minute limitation between your display updates. And if you try to update it more often than that, you run the risk of damaging those displays permanently. So if you're going to do an e-ink display, make it for data that doesn't change very often at all, like a name badge. So now what can you build? And I'm going to counter that with the better question is to ask, what can't you build? These are designed to sense and control things. They're easy to program. They're ideally suited for all kinds of electronic, robotics, and home automation projects. Building microcontroller-powered projects is easy. Using that IDE and all those add-on libraries, the actual programming often takes less time than it does to wire everything together. And we're talking 8 wires for the lightning detector. So it's literally that quick, that simple. This is that lightning detector I talked about. And so because the Arduino is designed to sense and control things, a microcontroller really can do a lot. Look around and think what you would like to automate. The most dangerous words you can ever hear me say are, wouldn't it be cool if? I actually said that at a local club breakfast meeting over in Memphis, and we had the discussion about creating a lightning detector, and I was told, yeah, that would be cool, but they're too expensive. Well, that afternoon, I found this and I ordered the parts, and for $25, I built a lightning detector that can detect lightning 40 kilometers out, which is 25 miles. It will tell you the strength of the storm, the distance to the storm, and some various other parameters right there. And I've got mine so where it can actually disconnect my antennas. There was not a single coax relay to be found at Dayton that year because I got them all. But when it detects lightning, it would disconnect the antennas and then it would automatically reconnect them a half hour after the storm passed. You can build a satellite tracker. This uses just an Arduino Uno, some servo motors, and an LCD display. How many times are you out at field day wanting to work the satellite and you can't see the computer screen? Well, you hook this up to the computer and tell it to track the ISS or satellites or whatever, and you just look at where it's pointing and you match it. And it costs like $30 to build. And that was what Dr. Arduino upgraded and made into his satellite tracking package. Or those of you that want to build your own radios, how about a 40-meter transceiver? I'm sure all of us have heard about that little $5 40-meter CW Pixie kit. All this does is it replaces the crystal with that DDS, that digital frequency synthesis chip, and an LCD display, and bang, you've got a full up 40-meter rig. Cost about $30. We added a baseball trophy case from Hobby Lobby, and upgraded it to a TFT display. And now we've got a 40-meter CW rig that's got RIT built in, runs off a 12-volt battery. Oh, and it's got a built-in CW keyer as well for less than $50. You can also experiment with these high-altitude balloons. Any of you that's been watching W5KUB, Tom's big on the high-altitude balloons. And these carry a telemetry unit. Well, those are all Arduino powered. These things fly at 40,000 feet, circumnavigate the world multiple times, and can be tracked using ham radio telemetry. They all output Whisper or APRS. And one of the balloons launched by Tom, we wanted to go for altitude. It reached an altitude of 109,000 feet, straight up in Memphis. And the recovery team was within 100 yards of the landing area because of the telemetry they were receiving from the unit. They would have been closer, but they made a wrong turn in the subdivision where it was landing. They probably were literally within 25 yards of the landing point. That's how accurate this was. And these are not very expensive. And if you're looking for another program, I bet you could get Tom to do one for you too. Parts is parts. When you do get into this stuff, you have tons of places to buy parts from. And you generally are going to pay more if you're going to buy them from places like Jamco, DigiKey, the main manufacturers that, you know, are out there. But as a general rule, there's no real difference in the price of these parts. So save yourself some money. I get all mine from eBay, Amazon, AliExpress, or Banggood. And most of these online suppliers include free or low-cost shipping. I've hardly had any quality problems. I'm going to say just one time I've had a quality issue with some parts I ordered. That's out of hundreds of orders. Here's some new things coming out with the Arduino and microcontrollers. Meshtastic is an open source project that uses inexpensive long range, that LoRa radio technology, to create an off-grid mesh networking. Now, I'm sure we're all familiar with the AREDN and the HSMM mesh networking. This is a variation on that. It uses the industrial, scientific, and medical bands, and you can create a wide area network. The distance record for this is 254 kilometers from one mountain to another, and we're talking milliwatts of power. But they automatically form a mesh with other nodes. So you could build an around town emergency communication network using these. And they're supported on the ESP32, the NRF52, and the RP2040 microcontrollers. So pretty much all the mainstream microcontrollers. So now what's next? My latest book, The Best of Arduino for Ham Radio, is now available from ARRL. It includes the best projects from my first 3 books, and they've been updated and fleshed out with all the bells and whistles. I cannot say this tonight. And I have worked out a plan for future books focusing on radio applications for the Internet of Things and the Raspberry Pi Pico. In the meantime, I'm updating the ARRL Mesh Networking book that I did about 10 years ago. And I've got an introduction to microcontrollers article scheduled for On the Air magazine and an ESP32 based radio development kit review for QST that will probably be out. There goes my voice this summer. Another book, you heard me mention the Elector book. This one is Arduino for amateur radio applications. It's available at elector.com and Amazon. This includes 10 new and updated Arduino projects for your ham shack. And some of them, you know, beacon keyer, mini weather station, etc. And it's got this Bluetooth CW keyer. And I'll come back to that in a minute if I don't have a slide for it. I meant to put one in. But now for me, it's time to enjoy retirement from the day job. Like I said, I got put out to pasture a little over a year ago. This means it's time for more microcontroller projects and more books, and maybe even a cat show for that new kid on the block. Yeah, let me back up on this. This Bluetooth CW keyer, those of you that read the January or February issue of QST, Dave Minster made a brief mention of it. This is a wireless CW keyer. In other words, you've got the keyer connected to a microcontroller. There are no wires between that keyer and the unit that's connected to the rig. That rig is behind them in a rack. That's the flex. And it's got a matching box. And what it does, it actually translates the keystrokes of the key. So it's going to be a straight key or a keyer, and it mirrors the duration of the key closures. So it's not a keyer in that sense. It mimics your exact keying pattern. And they've been running that at W1AW now for about a year. And what's the fun part is they love it when they get a new operator that's not aware of this. They get them playing on the flex and get them to make a few contacts and said, well, who did you talk to? And the guy says, oh, you know, somebody over in Brazil or whatever. And they lift up the key in the box and they said, you weren't connected to a radio. And just totally confuses them until they explain what's happened to them. And it's really been fun. But you guys, you're builders, thinkers, creators, inventors. Otherwise, you wouldn't have put up with me for this time. You're a perfect match for the microcontroller world. So now imagine the projects that you can build, that you've always wanted to build, and then go make them happen. It's really not that hard. My next Hamfest forum is called Close Encounters of the Microcontroller Kind. I'll let you figure that one out. It's scheduled for Dayton in May. And my tagline there is, who says you can't hear a picture? So I'm really hoping to get into the audio capabilities of the Arduino for Dayton. Anyway, that's all I've got. Thank you so much for putting up with me. And y'all have any questions or comments?
That was a pretty good presentation. I appreciate it. I learned a lot about microcontrollers.
Cool.
I got in Adafruit transmit receiver unit where you can tie into your TTL and plug in the USB and talk to your Arduino or your Raspberry on TTL logic on the transmit receive.
Cool.
Adafruit's really good for stuff like this. So is
Yes.
SparkFun.
Yeah, I love Adafruit and SparkFun. Them and DF Robot is rapidly, DF Robot's really stepping it up too. But yeah, I live off of Adafruit and SparkFun.
Here's one of my projects I'm still working on.
Wow.
I've got a Raspberry Pi and an Arduino tied together. I've got some spinning LiDARs. Right now I'm reading just one of them, but I'm intending to turn this, and I also have the new AI camera here sitting on a Pi 3. So I'm hoping to get that all working in the next year or so.
Oh, very cool. What you going to use it for?
Well, I'm part of the Atlanta Hobby Robots Club.
Okay.
And that one there would be for polyathlon, which is like 6 events, line following, pushing objects off table, which is called bulldozer. Also, let's see, we got beacon killer, where you have to turn around, find the beacon, and try to get the best time at tagging the beacon. Little events like that. Dead reckoning.
Very, very cool. Yeah, I don't do the Raspberry Pi. My Linux years are done. But I love the Arduino and the microcontrollers. It's really been a good fit for me.
Yeah, I love Arduino style products for the sensors. You know,
Yeah.
you can tie into a lot of sensors with Arduino, where Raspberry, it's a little bit tougher. You got to buy hats to do that.
Right.
So what OS does the Arduinos run?
Well, it doesn't really run an OS. It's natively programmed in C and C++. And
Oh,
that Arduino IDE does all the work. So think of it as a really simplified version of English C++. It's very, very simple to learn. It's powerful, but simple. And with the libraries, I don't have to know how this stuff works. I just say, you know, put this on the display and it puts it there. I don't have to control, I don't have to do any signal management at all.
It's Mike, W5TSU, made me think of my first computer, which was a 1802 microprocessor supplied by RCA. It was a project in Popular Electronics magazine in 1977. I think it had 256 bytes of memory, not megabytes or kilobytes, 256 bytes of memory, 16 a keypad, hexadecimal keypad, 2 LED digits as the display. And I actually programmed that thing to monitor a number of alarm system circuits. I was in the alarm business, and report them to the police station. In less than 256 bytes of memory.
Oh, yeah.
Program that thing in machine language, but that was fun. And my first, and I still have that computer.
Wow. That was actually my first. And if you still have a Kilobaud magazine around, in October of 1979, that was my first published article. It was on a dare from coworkers about the RCA 1802. And what I did was an ASCII to Baudot conversion program on it, so I could run teletype on a RS-232 display. And, you know, so it would convert between the ASCII on the display to the Baudot for ham radio. And that was 79.
Oh.
That was my first microcomputer. Yeah. Loved it. That's what got.
Made me think my first word processor was a Western Union Model 33 teletype, on which I used to publish the local ham radio club newsletter once a month.
I had a Kleinschmidt TT59.
Jump in there.
Okay, you're gonna speak at Dayton, is that at FDIM?
I'm sorry, not at FDIM. For some reason, they only let me do a couple times when Craig Barron's was still alive. For whatever reason, they prefer to have Jack Purdom speak about their microcontrollers and stuff. I'm actually doing forums directly with Dayton at the Dayton Ham Fest.
Okay, good, thank you.
Yeah, oh, I'd love to do FDIM if they'd invite me back, but that's the way life works.
I'll talk to him.
Thanks.
What is FDIM?
It's 4 days in May. It's a QRP ARCI Amateur Radio Club International event that they hold in conjunction with Dayton every year. And the Thursday before Dayton, they have a whole day's worth of ham radio related seminars and discussions. And they're really good.
Yeah. I was trying to come up with a way to take a Selectric typewriter and turn it into a printer. Just, I guess, for the olden days.
Yeah, you can do it, but you're going to have to convert that thing to EBCDIC, if I'm not mistaken.
Well,
and figure out that relay sequence.
Microcontroller can do that.
Yes, it can. Absolutely can. Because a lot of those older Selectrics, I mean, we use those as I/O. Back when I was at Pratt Whitney Aircraft, we had the Selectric and the jet engine stands doing the reporting. So you might be able to find one that's already got the interface built into it.
I was waiting for everybody to go before I made a comment, because I have a question which may be a little off topic. I worked for a company several years ago as a gaming company, and we were interfacing the games with a server using the Arduino AT256. And the environment that I was programming, it basically was C, not C++, but we were using something called Visual Micro in order to get into it. And basically you could write the program in the Visual Micro IDE and then pump it over to the processor. Is that what you meant a few minutes ago when you said there's no operating system? It's the IDE that provides the run for it.
Right. The IDE is really, it runs on the PC, and use it to create your programs. They're compiled and uploaded into the Arduino as microcode.
Right. I just wondered about that, because it basically had a loop. You come in and you would initialize the machine, you go through a read, you go through a write, you go through the bottom of the loop, and then come back through the top. And what I did basically was say, well, that middle piece, I'm just going to take control and do everything I need to do in there, and never really ran the loop until you powered it down. And when you powered it down, then it would exit out and fall out the bottom of the loop, and then it's powered off. So I didn't know if I had done something radical or if I had done something smart.
That I'm not familiar with that. I'm going to say that's the AT256 sounds like a predecessor to the current Arduino.
Yeah,
And
these
that,
things
that may have
go
been the
around.
incarnation of the IDE at that time. So probably very similar. The IDE, the Arduino does just sit there and loop that code forever.
Right.
So yeah,
So if we can go to the Arduino website and download the new IDE. I still got Visual Micro around, but
right.
it was kind of creepy even then.
Yeah. No, there are actually two versions, the 1.8 version and the 2.1234 version, I think is what they're up to now. You can use either one interchangeably. I personally prefer the older one. It's got a better feel to me, but either or, but they're all up on the Arduino website for free at arduino.com.
Okay, good enough.
Yeah, I think you'll love it a lot better than some older software that, like you say, probably is a little bit buggy and quirky.
We had this device. When I realized what they were doing, the first thing I thought of was we'll replace this, because the guy who was working on it before me, the engineer, he just couldn't, he was not a programmer, and he'd hacked together some really ugly stuff. And when I got into it, I said, oh yeah, we're gonna have to just get this, we'll limp along until we get over to a Raspberry Pi. That was my thinking. And come to find out, that AT256 was amazingly powerful considering what it was. I mean,
Yeah.
the processor was $30. That's what we were paying for. And
Mhm.
we were running basically Ethernet, an Ethernet connection, plus writing a log file, plus hitting Wi-Fi. And the other idea I came up with before I left there was we replaced all the physical switches in the gaming machine, because you want to make sure people aren't opening the doors and messing with them. They would spend 2 or 3 days putting in physical switches in the doors and whatnot. And we replaced all those physical switches with I think it was a Uno, is that real little Arduino, postage stamp size, with a piece of tape on the back of it and a light sensor. And the whole thing was like $3, and it was all hooked together by Wi-Fi within the box. It just, I'm a mainframe guy. I was shocked what we were doing with a $2 computer, what we were able to do with it. So anyway,
Yeah.
that's my comment.
Yeah, well, I'm from the mainframe era too, so don't get yourself down. Those computers I talked about that put man on the moon, I actually worked on their brothers over at South Florida Water Management at that same time frame. So
Cool.
we come, it was old diode transistor logic and resistor transistor logic back then.
Yeah.
But yeah, we come from the same age.
Hey, somebody else had a question over here.
Who is Arduino now? You said, the university, basically stopped supporting it. Who
Right.
supports it?
It's basically the people that created it, led by Massimo Banzi, from the Institute at Ivrea. When they closed that, they just banded together, and the name actually came from a local bar there in Ivrea, Italy, devoted to King Arduin of Italy. And that's where the name came from, was Arduino. But Massimo and his original team started it and kept it going. And now it's just kind of a worldwide group that's just contributing to it. And I think Massimo is still heading the show.
Anything else?
Of course I have something.
Well, go ahead.
Yeah, the advantage of having the microcontroller where you're not running an operating system is great for real-time applications. Because you're not going through an operating system to the hardware. The operating system may be busy looking at something else. You're the only, on the microcontroller, you're the only thing that's running, and you're just sitting right on top of the metal. And you get better performance there.
Yeah, and there's no boot time or anything like that. It starts and it goes. Yeah, the only time you'd have would be the delay setting your initial parameters and getting stuff started. But boot is instantaneous.
Yeah, we were running an Ethernet, all the Wi-Fi connections in the box. I think there were 8 of them, plus the Ethernet connection, plus communicating with the Georgia Lottery through their serial interface. The only issue I had with this machine was that when it was talking on Ethernet, you could not open and write a file like a log file. So there was a period of time when I'm writing 3 or 4 records, and I got it down where I was trying to write a buffer, an in-memory FIFO queue where I could write a couple records and wait and go write a couple, so I wouldn't break the Ethernet cycle. Beyond that, I was astounded what that little box would do. And you're right, it was an old one. This was 4, 5, 6 years ago that I was doing this. So.
Yeah, and the thing to think about that too, the Arduino is not multitasking, not a real-time operating system. It is, single user, single path. So
Right.
yeah, it doesn't time share like the Linux and Raspberry Pi does.
Yeah, I got it down to where when I was adding more and more features to it and I know I'm hogging the meeting at this point. When I do the build, it would give me the statistics at the end, and if I had less than 1,400 bytes of memory left, it wouldn't run. So there was a stack in there somewhere that was doing something behind the scenes. Anybody else got anything else?
Yeah, one quick thing on where you're at, and that's the Pi Pico, which is Raspberry Pi's microcontroller. It is actually a dual core device, and it's programmed in Python natively. And that actually does allow both cores to be running simultaneously with separate programs. So you could have actually implemented what you were talking about there with the simultaneous Ethernet and buffer if the Pi Pico had been around during that time frame and you were willing to do it in Python.
I think the issue that I was running into, and I found a workaround, but I think it was the I2P interface. It just simply couldn't do both at the same time. And so I just figured out a way of not being disconnected from the Ethernet very long. Yeah. And in the middle of the night when nobody's playing the game, then I could go ahead and write the log. But I was writing a log, pretty good buffer for the log records. So anyway, that's neither here nor there. That's old creepy stuff that I was working on.
Oh yeah. Hey, but it's fun.
I've got something. For those of you who are here, I have a little microcontroller. This is an ESP32 board. And a tiny little display that I'm displaying the time. I plugged it into the battery when I left the house, and it connected to my Wi-Fi at the house and got the correct time. And it's been displaying the clock ever since. And it's flashing the colon between the hours, minutes, and seconds.
So that's the ESP32 board. I would expect it to be.
That's it.
Did you get the time off your computer?
Got the time off the internet.
Can you see what he's holding up here?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the standard ESP32. It's a cute little baby.
They need to put a coin or something by those pictures because I was thinking something,
Yeah.
So I can't work on that. I can't even see it.
Think of the new stick-on forever stamps, and that's basically the size.
Holy cow.
Yeah.
A lot of your newer
Can y'all
Arduinos
see
are also
this?
stamp-like.
Let me take a look at this.
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's see that little bad boy right there.
Actually, you
That's the high-end board.
pass it around if you want. Just
Yeah, and I was kind of wrong on the Arduino not being able to do real time. There is an RTOS library out there that will allow you to do time sharing on the Arduino. I have not played with it, but it does exist.
Also, there's some newer Arduinos have been released, and one of those newer ones, they actually implemented Linux.
And that I'm not aware of yet.
Take a look at it.
Oh.
Yeah, having an operating system, I just remember reading stories about they were trying to do real time in Java, and Java was running fine, but occasionally it would stop for garbage collection. And it would just lose, where it needed to be.
Do it on that.
Have to have a magnifying
Yeah, but that's
glass.
between you and the metal. I have something to tell you, the invitation that you said, how can I resist, it was written by an AI.
Say that again?
Oh, the invitation to speak to us that you said Can I Resist was written by an AI.
Aha, very cool. Well, that's another thing I meant to mention is that I've been talking with the folks at Dr. Arduino on a regular basis, and they're actually starting up a course for this because a lot of people are starting to use AI to write their Arduino programs. And you can actually get ChatGPT to do a pretty decent job of writing some of your code.
You need to talk to Lynn about this. He is the expert on having ChatGPT do stuff. He and I have had several discussions over that.
The farthest I've gotten is with Google's Gemini, telling it to draw me things of a Maine Coon astronaut in space. And it does a really beautiful job, but that's as far as I've gotten.
I've actually been doing some SU shopping using chat.
It's amazing. This AI, I just read a thing today that they've actually developing a computer that is powered by human brain cells. So this thing's starting to get scary.
For that one. I've been
Starting to
waiting
get
for that
scary.
to come out. Some sort of heat thing where it body heat on the outside versus air temperature on the outside and generate power from that, from the differential. That's been floating around for a while.
I didn't even solder anything.
Yeah.
Since you guys hit AI, here's a Raspberry Pi 5 with a standard version 3 camera, but it has the AI hat here with about 14 teraflops
Wow.
on it. And
Wow.
I did get it going on some of their sample programs where it could detect a person, a car, detect objects. It wasn't too hard to throw together. But you're basically downloading pre-trained files. But there is a way more complicated and takes a lot of effort. You can, I'll let you have a real close look here. You can train your own intelligence into it, but that means you got to take every training picture, draw a box around it, label it, and do like 100 per item that you want to recognize.
Well, I think maybe we're going about this all wrong. Are we training the AI or is the AI training us?
Well, you're a cat owner. You know how that works.
Exactly. I'm well trained.
We started with cats. I guess we ought to end with cats. I got a kitten years ago to keep my older cat company. And it turned out he was part Maine Coon or something. When he was 4 years old, he weighed 26 pounds.
Yeah.
And he was, like you say, he was about 4 feet long. There wasn't an ounce of fat on him. He's the most muscular cat I have ever, and gentle. You could pick it up by his tail and carry him around and he'd complain, but he'd never scratch it. He absolutely, his name was FP. That was food processor. All right. Anybody got anything else?
Speaking of cats, I see your Maine Coons, and I am familiar with them. My daughter's got a couple of them, and they are very interesting cats.
Oh, he was a brute. He was a man's cat, no question.
I used to go to the
Anybody got
Atlanta
anything else?
cat show on a regular basis back in the 80s and 90s.
When and where is your next cat show?
I don't know. It probably will be Birmingham next year if I can get the papers for this boy. That's been the big issue is since he's adopted, trying to get his papers out of the breeder are questionable. But the two girls are retired, so
Okay.
yeah, probably would be Birmingham next year if I can get it to happen.
Thanks.
All right, anybody got anything else, cat or computer related? They're kind of similar. All right.
We got a Hamfest coming up in June.
Yeah, unfortunately, that's a little far for me. And let's just say that June and May have got doctors going for me. So this year's out.
When you're lucky, it's only 2 months.
All right,
Well, it's the tail end, but yeah.
Well, I want to thank you if you're ever in Atlanta, accidentally or On purpose.
Well, I was actually in Atlanta the weekend of Orlando. I was flying through on the way back.
Well, let us know. We'll do dinner or something next
Oh,
time.
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah, we owe you now for the
Oh,
presentation.
no. I enjoy doing this. My pleasure.
It's been a good
We
one.
won't serve you any pie.
It's been a good one. This has been one of the better presentations. Rob is good. Sometimes he's excellent.
But he nailed this one. He nailed this one.
Yeah, when is that? When I'm sleeping,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah,
Thank
Rob,
you.
I'm not gonna tell him what you and I talked about for later.
Oh,
I'll-
you can't
I'll-
say that later. You
No,
can't say that.
I'll,
and just
I'll let
drop
you
it.
be the hero on that one, Rob.
Oh, Euro, okay.
All right, I think that's it, guys. It's creeping up on 9 o'clock.
It's almost time for Star Trek.
Anybody
There you
got
go.
anything else they need to throw in there? Thanks for the presentation. This has been a really good one.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Enjoyed it.
Bye. Thank you.
All right, anybody got any other club business?
Are we doing anything Sunday? So what, did you do the programming on that or is it? something-
You want- if you
By the way,
want- I'm gonna say-
for a larger turnout.
It's headed for Wednesday.
I used the library.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Los Bravos,
So,
their,
So
where's
you
Los
could,
Bravos?
ESP 32, you can
It's
use.
the intersection of Johnson's Ferry and Ashford Dunwoody, right?
Because I've got some Arduinos, but, well, I've done.
That's the right shopping center.
Right behind the Valero gas
The
station.
Arduino that's
Which
got
used to
a
be
ESP 32 on it.
Just look,
Was it really?
just look for McDonald's.
Yeah,
right in the same shopping
Yeah, that's
center.
right.
This,
McDonald's on every-
ESP 32 board was
That American station,
Only
when it was
5
American
bucks.
stations where they
Yeah,
got the guy. that
Really?
killed
Who'd you get yours
The
to?
girl up on
And
Blood.
I found him there.
Oh, okay.
Really, they found
And
him
the
in her
display
head.
was,
When was it?
Y'all remember that? Am I the only one that
I,
remembers that
I
story?
ordered
Yeah,
10.
it's gonna rain on Sunday.
Oh, okay. So you have to get them. in quantity to get that
Yeah, I
price.
was waiting.
Well, you know, we could do it.
Yeah, it was a little bit more expensive.
And out in
Okay.
Kew.
We'll just set up.
That's the smallest display I've seen.
Well. I think it makes
Actually,
jump
For
that switch.
it's 0.91
Jumper for
Yeah.
it?
No, you just have to switch. I think it makes.
I got a box.
organic.
Yeah, so.
At least two.
And they also have 0.96.
Okay. I got-
Oh,
There's a.
But,
nearby.
Remember
the club and I.
the 0.96 is, taller.
Oh, sure.
So it has to
We had one
be
guy show up.
narrow
In
order to get the
Yeah.
diagonal so close.
Yeah.
So
I love the presentation.
So
one day using.
it's
Learn how to do it yourself.
technically
That day we made it.
larger. But looking at the thing, it looks small.
Yeah, I kept looking the whole time the meeting, kept
Yeah.
seeing that thing hanging out of your, I thought, wow.
Yeah. Well, just because there was no,
I couldn't read it.
right. And I just did that because I wanted to do something. And
Are you using a blood torch?
I hate
Element,
fonts
are you
that are
using
not
flame?
accurate.
Oh, yeah.
So
Anyway,
anyway,
So you guys, this is going through here.
no, just once when it first starts.
Oh, to start it, okay. And then it stays.
It's hard-coded.
It stays synced real well.
It's got a real-time clock built into the
Oh, man.
chip. ESP32.
Okay.
It's a real-time clock built in, and you just say, give me the time.
Well, I'm a curious. Hey, every time I go out in the field, this is times my clock. If I had that
Right.
sitting there the whole time.
Now, I also have some high precision real-time calculators, which look similar to this. They've got the pin sticking out, and you just plug it in the way you need. And the high precision prop has a battery.
Well, my son.
Built in. It comes with the battery, like welded in. It's just, it just uses so little power. It's like a watch.
So what, how much current is that? How much current is that pull?
I don't know. It does not need this big honking battery. This is just the smallest battery I have.
Oh, I thought that was your phone.
Yeah. It's like,
No, it's just a battery. And
The problem I.
this display, one of the reasons I got this small OLED display is because it uses so little power. It doesn't need a backlight like LCD.
Waterproof because there's no.
So it and it's teeny tiny, so it just doesn't need that much power.
Nowhere from the water to get.
And the way I wrote the program, it's it's a busy delay.
I'm actually not far.
For a half a second,
You go back.
to
And that's where
to
people.
turn on or off the cones between, and at the same time, it updates the time if it needs to change. But
Or daylight savings.
I'm going to unplug it and plug it back in the phone. But what I plan to do for this project is the ESP32 has Wi-Fi built in, and it has Bluetooth. Now, what I'm going to do is on the display, I'm going to say connect to this IP address and turn on the Wi-Fi access point. So with my phone, I can get into this or my computer and connect to this Wi-Fi and tell it to bring up a config where I can enter the SSID and the password for whatever Wi-Fi I choose. And also the city, so it can get the time zone.
It's almost like,
Daylight
it's almost like
savings.
bypass
That's
everybody here in Atlanta.
And I might even do the weather.
And this has to be
Typically have a reset button on them. You hit that reset button now, it'll just program again. But they required us to take ours.
It will, well, there's a boot button on one side and a reset on the other side. And I'm not going to press it because I'm not told to get the time from my Wi-Fi. But
Probably ask you, but that's good.
once I enhance the program, then I can do any Wi-Fi.
So when you plug in this in and add your IDE up, and are you keying in the current program from your computer, or are you actually pulling the time off of the computer?
MIG welding where you gotta have.
How do you get the time off the computer in there?
Coming out and weld.
I'm not getting my time off the computer.
Okay.
When I plugged it in at the house, I plugged it into this,
Okay.
not the computer.
Okay.
And if I unplug it, it's got no power.
Okay.
It loses everything.
Okay.
When I plug it back in, it starts the program again and connects to my own Wi-Fi and goes out on the internet and gets the time
You get the connector.
Oh, so this does that.
NTP.
Okay, so you're not having a key in it.
No,
Okay, I got you.
no, it gets the time off NTP.
You aren't melting the dielectric or the instant.
So is it constantly trying to connect to your home network?
No.
It just does that once?
Once you get it hooked up, it's got-
About a year ago when I was.
Like I have this program on my computer. You investigate that
Yeah.
I can get it more active. And I
Yeah.
guess that's the time to.
Oh, I was thinking you were doing that.
And anytime that I have phone connectivity, I can turn on the hotspot
Yeah.
and I can get the time from the hotspot. Once I get the program to do that. But
Try your hotspot.
Well, I'll do it so that I can connect to that with my phone or a computer. And
You got that ring.
it'll bring up a config page and I can download the SSO.
So my unit project is a code practice oscillator,
What? Oh, a practical.
which feels totally like overkill. It's just like a loop, and is the key down? If it is, make the tone. If it's not, turn the tone. It just sits there. And goes,
Okay.
Does it really quick, right?
yeah, sometimes it's like I'll catch it. It seems like I'm catching it right on the transition because
Oh, yeah.
a little scratchy.
Yeah.
You got the phones on the outside.
But it's putting out a square wave, so the sound's kind of.
Well,
it works.
you can get buzzers or beepers or whatever.
Yeah.
Or, you can get that if you're three.
I just got a speaker from Amazon, just a little tiny speaker, so it sounds even worse than that speaker.
You know,
my job, I want to tell you how to
you can go to HRO and buy one in there from afar, you know.
Yeah. And I know it's right.
I mean, if you bought like, what'd you say, 10 of these or 20, whatever.
Yeah.
Maybe you could go to the next Ham Fest and you could, there we go. Sell them off.
Yeah, I would need to fix the.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Cause I remember one of the ham fests I went to, the guy was selling these little Chinese programs. Then you put it on, your call sign on it to do all that.
Yeah. I've actually got some of the EE displays that I intend to make name tags.
Yeah. I had my wife loved it. She's used to these, so I put all of her stuff on. She tells people I designed that. I didn't. No, I didn't design that.
Yeah. I didn't do hardly anything with this.
Well, I think he was right. Right, in a state you can train the night range.
Yeah, yeah. I just cobbled together some of the sample programs.
Yeah,
This blue LED,
yeah.
it normally doesn't do that.
Really?
I told the program
Yeah.
to turn it on
Yeah.
and wait for, 1 second, turn it off for a half a second, and turn it back up.
So was it a molten color?
No, it's just,
Oh, it is blue.
it just came on the board.
It's just an extra one on there. that-
Yeah, and
Yeah, like most of the Arduinos, it's 13 wires to a regular
Very expensive.
LED for the blink program.
Yeah. And so I just turned it on and blink it just so I can tell this damn thing's working. So if I get the display unplugged,
Yeah,
There's two versions.
I can still see this is running the program.
So when you bought that board originally, I know when I got mine, they come and they've already pre-programmed with the blink program just so that you can see it when you plug it into your PC the first time. I was getting the blink light going on. I think a lot of them do that so that you know you didn't get a day.
Probably, but I don't even remember.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been thinking about going to the SD32s. They've got a lot more stuff on them.
Oh, yeah.
Give me a little briefing ahead of time.
I love how easy this is,
Yeah.
and it's got like damn near everything.
Yeah.
12,
But they won't be there.
Yeah, I had a bunch of friends in.
Because they won't.
I was surprised they relocated that office in Midtown. Did you know that?
12 ADC.
Probably, because they didn't want them up there.
This is like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, and
Well, hey,
the
Fox family's never gonna
the
sell that.
capacitive,
Every day I do is probably fun.
That's why we improve.
As soon as.
using one of their sample programs.
As soon as Kennedy dies.
I wired it up
Oh,
so that,
sensors on it.
yeah, I plugged one of my wires into the right pin and, running the sample program, I could hold
I get it
the wire
electronically. They give it a
I
call.
put directly in one pin, and the LED came on. Went
Can't
off.
read that in the restaurant.
Came on, went off.
I could make that into the acid touch
On the
pad.
website.
Yeah.
Okay.
Another thing is, I just ordered and just received, a pack of 10
We typically go out once a month.
PIR
somewhere.
Yeah.
sensors.
Yeah.
And you just wave your hand.
Oh, yeah.
It'll do that. Don't even need to touch it. And I'm thinking about putting a
Got into that.
Well, I'm gonna keep going too.
significantly
We'll
bigger,
see, who else come to lunch tomorrow? You gonna come out?
but also it would use power. And I don't want to leave it on all the time. So I might just do the same clock, but with the bigger display and that PIR sensor.
Yeah.
So if I want to